beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to another one of my video updates. And in this Ascension update, I really want to talk about the Christed path and what does it really mean to embody the Christed energy and what this path is like, and what are really the rites of passage. I've been talking about this before, maybe several years back, but as you know, I like to upgrade my topics, and for those of you who have been with me long enough, you know that this is just how it goes on a personal ascension journey. So the reason why I've chosen this topic for this week is that with each light influx, what happens is we receive a furthering of our strengthening of the embodiment of our light bodies. So what's happening is with this Christed column of light, with this light that starts to really pour into us, it moves down into our bodies, and during its course it pushes a lot of the old things out, and in certain areas of our body where we still might hold blockages or where we might resist this energy, to really live in pure freedom of being and infinite abundance, and to really live with the infinite joy of our soul, that's when issues will come up. So it's really important that we know that with each ascending cycle, what happens is this is a blossoming journey. It's not a goal, it's not a destination, and a lot of the times a lot of spiritual people want to make it so, and it's always like wanting to move further ahead, wanting to move somewhere and wanting to go somewhere in the embodiment process, or judging the process of where you are now instead of really embracing the divine sacred feminine, the mother of life process. So it's a blossoming. It's not like working on ourselves and progressing ourselves. The Christed path, to really embody the light of Christ, it's not something that can just be done like this in the course of wakening up one day and realizing your life should change profoundly. This can be happening with your awakening journey. But then the process of little embodiment of the Christed light, it requires a lot of our focus, a lot of the attention, a lot of the devotion to our ascension, the body, and how to really be compassionate to our bodies. So with this influx of light that's happening now during the portal of the eclipses, we're now right almost in the middle, and what's been felt was a lot of this, what I call this sometimes is this beautiful cosmic spiraling movement of love, of divine love. Sometimes it even is felt like orgasmic tantric pressure, and we can literally feel it, although we will all feel it in our own unique way. So when this energy starts to move through us, a lot of the times it gets so intense that where we still hold something, like maybe we're still holding on to something of the old, the way we've been used to doing things before, and that which is not in complete alignment with that Christ itself, there will always be maybe some sort of body messages or misalignments, or just the way that we see something coming up so that we will understand it. Sometimes it's a little body message. Your body at a certain part will show you where this is taking place. Let's say you're having issues on the lower part. So this is where the embodiment takes place, the lowest chakras. And when this light wants to push through, is sometimes it's so intense, not the light itself, but the difference in between the potential that wants to be embodied and a reaction to it. As you know, I always say this, the divine light, the divine love, you know, the awakening ascension energy is not intense. We perceive it as human beings intense during our feeling side of life. So how we feel this, or whether we still somehow not fully allowing this energy in, not allowing it to be fully embodied, or whether we judge the process, that it's an infinite blossoming process. So we say, oh, you know, I should already be at this level, or I should already have this understanding, so why am I still doing things this way? This really keeps you in the old judgment, and you're not just allowing things to be as they are, embracing life as it is. So I've said this before, we only suffer because we resist what's taking place. We resist the process. So the Christed path is always this beautiful path of knowing that this immense light, which is actually not even, you know, it's not emanating from what we've known previously, it's our future self, so to say. And it enters our bodies and it starts to integrate more and more. So where there's certain parts where we will feel that something's not in total alignment, this is where we need to do that releasing. It's like more like stepping into that energy. So let's say there's this immense influx of light coming in, and you hold something here, and you're maybe first or second chakra, and maybe you're not allowing yourselves to experience pleasure in your life, or maybe you're not fully grounded yet in this reality, or you're holding on to working too hard and achieving too much and all these things, and this will show up. Maybe you feel like you're carrying the burden of the entire family cycle, or just life in general, and this is usually felt in the back or sometimes the shoulders. It depends which part of you feels that way. So there can be many things, but you will feel when this immensity the immense light starts flowing through, and there's something you feel as in resistance. At the same time, you will know it, because at the same time you will feel this tantric beautiful pleasure. You will feel this pressure energy. It's beautiful. And at the same time, you will also feel intensity, and intensity implies there's something there that's still not fully allowing this light to just flow through, to do its work naturally. It soars, doing its magic. So this is really important for us to really become compassionate about our Christed Path journey, because the journey of embodiment is not the same as just becoming enlightened in our minds. Our bodies are literally transforming. So each cell is connected to another cell of our body through a light membrane, as a physical cell is also connected with a membrane. So the process of osmosis happens when the cells are interacting with each other. It's a living organism, and they're speaking messages to each other, and they're transferring love. So if there's a part of you that still feels there's pain there, or pressure, or something where you're having maybe physical challenges, and when you're still not fully allowing that light to come through, there's going to be something coming up, and we call these blockages. But I don't really like that word, because when we say we're blocked, we become sometimes so obsessed with the concept of blockage that we're not really in allowance. So again, we move into separation. So when the whole body of yours will become an interactive flow, like all cells are going to be in communication with each other, there are going to be carrying messages of that light, of the light quotients, and they're going to be transferring them, and it's going to be a beautiful flow. If there's like a misalignment, and this transfer cannot happen in flow, that there's going to be these messages, and we will see what still needs releasing, and we will find a way to do this. And this is where the compassion takes place. Not saying I'm going to compare myself with somebody else and how they do it, because we don't understand their journey. We don't know where they are, what they're doing, which is their level of embodiment. It's different for each and every one of us. The important part is to focus on us, on our ascension integration. So because the comparison is just the same as judgment. It's just a more subtle form of it. And the reason why so many light people, light workers, however you wish to call it, I don't like that term so much because it's been played around with too much, but I love the words Ascension Pioneers. So the group of us who are doing this work in ourselves and then sharing it with the rest of creation is why sometimes there's this subtle, very refined judgment to this process, is because there's been a huge misunderstanding and explanation of the Christed Path. It all started with Master Joshua. So recently I was guided to read more about his true calling and his true nature. And I never came from the Christian approach. I never had any knowledge of this. Everything that I've ever received was straight from my own divine alignment. But I just recently got this name, Joshua ben Joseph, and I knew this was the real name. And then I started browsing for that. And I came again to the page where I already was, I think maybe 2 years ago. It's Joshua channeling, so it's joshuanet.com. I don't know what's it called, the page. It's just about Joshua channelings. And when you read this main description there, it's really obvious that the path of the one who actually was seated here as a sort of a galactic experiment to carry the light of the future self in this body without these previous, what we call previous lifetime experiences, your knowing from your lifetimes, carry all this knowing from this higher form and to be seated here, which now is a lot of beings, because this is happening in mass now. But we had this understanding of this divine perfect being, and this is what Jesus, the name, the word itself means. And with the Christian dogmatic beliefs, this all came into being as, you're this perfect God state of being that you can't even reach. So what we've been doing when we were integrating that as our own belief, which was really not the truth, we've taken upon this belief how everything needs to be perfect and we should already be there in this state. If we're not, we always keep postponing this ideal, perfect, divine human self being as in somewhere in the future, and something that is so precious that we can never reach. And when a lot of people approach me, they sometimes have the same perspective as this state, when you can be in that state, is so somewhere up there in the pedestal that you can never reach yourself. And they forget that you also have this human part, and that you also go through your initiations, and that Joshua also had to go through them, and that his purpose was for a certain reason and to plant the seeds in that era, which was very dark at those times. And how now we're doing this in our own way. So when I was reading there and about the author, what she shared was that in the beginning, Joshua shared with her that this is only what he's sharing available and meant for a certain group of people, which he called light workers, which I call Ascension pioneers. And at the beginning she was a bit resistant to it because she saw there's this form of elitism here, or this kind of a grouping. And he said no, it's just that these people are prone to this path because they've been working towards it, because they have this higher calling that always pulls them, because they're here not just for their own experience, to share and to serve the whole, and they have a more prone desire to do this, and that's why they will understand those teachings. And not everybody is in that understanding in their soul evolution at this time. So what this is just a deeper understanding that this is where we are. So when we have that compassion, it's just a natural flow. Everything that happens for us, everything that we feel drawn to magnetically, naturally, it's just how it's meant to be. So with this form of how they misinterpreted his name and how they placed him up there in the pedestal, we're still doing sometimes. And this is where we came into this dogmatic perception that it's really basically, it's not of the truth of one. So when a being comes here to become the Christed path, themselves, they take upon a path that's not always easy and light. And that's why not everybody will always understand this. They see somebody who is shining and has this glow around them, and they will say, well, for you it's always so easy and so simple, because they don't see behind the scenes. Or they will say, you're already so aware, you should already know this and that by now, so we move into judgment rather quickly. It's because we always keep comparing it with something, and we don't even know what that something is. And this is where we lack the true perspective. So we each need to focus on, when do we really feel in our true joy of the soul? When do we really feel Christed? When do we really feel it's about us and how we embody it? When do we really feel that we are the protege, the prototypes of the Christed en masse and becoming, for those of us who feel like we're part of this group? And this is what it's about. And once we get this compassion and start this dogmatic, like comparing it with something that we don't even know what it is, we can really embrace the flow of now. And this is what he spoke about in the channelings as well, that the suffering comes from us not embracing life as it is. Each experience, whatever it is divine. And that there is no such thing as this fated, predestined everything, and that we have no choice. How otherwise would soul evolution take place? There are certain things that we choose that are destined for us because we need to walk through those initiations and rites of passage, and this is what I'm going to be talking about next. And this is it. But then how we move through them, this is our choice. How we choose to embody. Will we choose judgment or compassion? What will we choose? To really see with the eyes of purity, we will know that we don't always have the full understanding what's taking behind the scenes, what's taking place. Not just for us, also for others. A lot of times, we experience something in a certain way and we think we already got it all figured out so that we can judge for another too. This is not how it truly is in the Christ path, because we don't know where they are and what they felt, what they've gone through. So we can just love them beautifully where they are and the perspective they're coming from, but they don't need to barge into this perspective onto us or vice versa. It's a common thing. To be Christed means to really have that flow of understanding, which is compassion, this higher understanding which I always talk about. And this understanding, when you can just wrap around with the field of the sphere of white light around everybody else. Just today I was running and I was thinking about how I no longer feel guided to even say anything like, oh, look, these people are drinking, oh, look, these people are smoking, oh, look, these people are, eating processed food or meats and all these things. It's just not even important anymore. It's just to embrace everybody with light. And we're getting more and more high vibrational, and that's why we feel those changes. And it's really important to just really mind our own business, because it's us, it's internal, the inner Christ, and then we express it and radiate it outwards. And this becomes really, really important on this note. So what I was reading in Dolores Cannon books about They Walk with Jesus, when this woman shared that she in this lifetime had an experience, and it wasn't really particularly known this was him, but there was a being full of light, and she had this pain around her head because she had so much knowledge that she wasn't able to share, because she was not able to, they didn't allow, and she felt like almost her head would explode. And just meeting him, and just by feeling how he understands, he just understood. She said, he's taken away this pain. I no longer feel it, just by him having this understanding. And this is what we do. This is the Christ path. You just are you. You radiate that out. You help somebody. You assist them beyond the words. Words can be very misleading. Are we really embodying this Christ? And it happens in stages. It happens in some things you can really feel you're already there at all times. In some levels you cannot hold that light yet. And what's shared in that page, Joshua Channelings, is about the fact that he already had difficulties. He said to embody this light of the higher self, this Jesus aspect, was really not easy. And the body had challenges many times. And the mission wasn't exactly how it was planned, but every single part of it was done through love. And there wasn't this predestined knowing how it will happen exactly. There was certain chances and certain risk, because the oversoul group and the light councils that work with these changes and these trials and experiments, so to say, they know that these are just different ways how they can alter realities of densities through love. But how it will be in certain worlds of density, it will always also be choice, because these worlds of densities, they just are how they are. So this is where I said this compassion aspect comes from. And this is where we understand that there's certain things that just take us as take much more than just beyond just the words themselves, or what we think we do with certain actions. They're important, they speak sometimes louder, but it's about this light that we hold, that we have that high understanding for people. Do we know for each and everyone what they're going through and what they're choosing the things that they are? Because when we come from the perspective of Holy Spirit, we do. And that's where the need to have any masks or anything like that just dissolves on its own once you hold that vibrational state. And remember, we don't get to hold it at all times, and when we don't, we're not supposed to judge ourselves, because this is just blocking this higher light to come through. So another aspect is the rites of passage, what they are, and what this is important is when we move in our ascension, each chapter we go deeper and deeper, of course. And the rite of passage means that on each level, you've embodied a certain level that now you can work on this level. So that's why a lot of people who are having certain, let's say, changes in what they call their career or what they want to do, they feel so differently because they now have uplifted themselves. They've raised their a state of awareness in their consciousness in a totally new way, and they feel that they can do work on this level now. And this is what's changing. What's changing is the energy, the vibration, not exactly what you will be doing, because you can still do the same thing but in a different way, in a different light. Or you do certain add-ons that are still a part of your overall soul signature, but still in a way they're add-ons. You keep embracing more of your multidimensional soul group self. And this is really important because it's a journey when it keeps happening in stages. And a lot of us have been pillars of light as in a certain way, almost feeling like an experiment of some sorts. And it's always been partially up to us. So it's how the human self will be guided into this experience of embracing the inner Christ. So going back to these rites of passage is, if me, in my soul signature, which is a completely unique divine blueprint, if I'm not meant to do a certain level of work, I'm not going to do it. So when I really align myself with the level of work that I am supposed to be doing, everything flows. And I see sometimes in this ascension path, when people become so, immersed in what's happening and how others are sharing, they sometimes want to do the same thing, but for them it just doesn't work somehow, because it's not their rite of passage. This is what it means. It means it's not for them. They can tune into it, they feel good about it, but it's not what they're supposed to be doing, according to the alignment with their vertical self, with their soul. And what's really important here is that we each embrace our own rite of passage. Because if there's a certain level of work that it's just not for us, and we're not really, tuning into with our soul awareness, then it's not for us. So when I do my things, I just do them because they just belong to the purpose that I'm here to fulfill. They're a part of it. And it's not for everybody, because not everybody's supposed to be doing this. And when you know your rites of passage, you also know that you will keep expanding in what you're doing. So that's why I say it's only a part of what I'm doing. Because each time in my own Christed embodiment, I go through a certain initiation that will change the rites of passage. So, I can do this level of work now on this level. And when I'm doing it, it feels right and the energy flows, and then something changes and shifts vibrationally, and then I feel, wow, now I'm capable. Really, the word that I can use here is capable. Also not just in my soul awareness, which is there, but in embodiment. And I'm capable, and I'm grounded into it, and I'm really, really tuning into it, not just vertically, but I'm, horizontally embodying that. So that's what it means, that I'm in a way spiritually allowed to do this, if you know what I mean. And it's not a matter of who's higher, better. It's just different. It's variety. And it's something that just naturally belongs to your soul, because your soul is that way. And it's meant to do this work. So the rite of passage means if you're not meant to do a certain line of work, you're just not going to do it, no matter how hard you try. And for some people it's just so easy, not because their life is just easy and simple, but because they make it feel so easy only because they're so aligned with what they're doing. So this is what the rite of passage means. A lot of the people, because they're so infatuated with something they like, somebody's doing it, and they think, wow, maybe this is something I'm supposed to be doing as well, because this is what Ascension is about. But it's not. Still diversity. The path of Ascension doesn't mean now we're all going to be doing maybe videos or writings. We're going to be needed to do different callings, and this is important. It's how the infinite reality here is structured. It's this diversity, and this is how the world and the physical matter, how it is. And when we really know how we're in tune with our own rites of passage, we will know. Spirit will show us, this is your line of work now. You can do this. And it will show you visions, it will direct you, you will just know, and it will be flow. When there's something you're not supposed to be doing, you can ask, you can pray, you can do whatever, but it's not yours. It doesn't belong to your natural soul blueprint. So this is how it is. And when you keep upgrading yourself in your embodiment, you will also feel those changes, and you will know when to make them. And sometimes, I need to share this, you already make a change in your awareness and you're already tuning into that, but the part of the embodiment and how you structure it physically and how you utilize it in these gifts, sometimes it takes a while to kind of follow up with your vertical. So let's say I'm already tuning into this aspect of myself and all this preparation work, and maybe a year after I really feel like I'm doing it. When the people follow as well, when they know, they feel what I'm doing, they're also kind of part of it. Sometimes it takes. It's not always in direct alignment with when I receive like this. So it's always this vertical and horizontal, and to understand how this merging takes place, it's not always instant. Okay, so again, this rite of passage is really important for our path, and when we really are in our own ascension light, we will know. And yes, this is it for today. I feel it's really important that we start embracing the Christed embodiment path with true compassion, and not to number ourselves down or to judge, or others as well, because we only judge others when there's still a part of us that takes things personally, because we judge ourselves. So that's really important too. Okay, beloved ones, I'll talk to you again soon. Have a beautiful week ahead. So much love, wisdom, and power as always, and stay connected. Bye-bye.